Ladies and gentlemen, there are many roads laid before us, paths well trodden by those who came before. These roads are safe, familiar, and respectable. They promise security, comfort, and the approval of others, yet they are not yours. They do not bear the marks of your footsteps, nor do they echo with the voice that is uniquely yours. Life is not something handed to you, fully formed and waiting to be lived. It is something shaped, molded, and forged by your own will. You were not placed in this world merely to walk the paths others have paved, but to set stones of your own, to carve a way that no one else has seen. The temptation to conform is great. It is easier to follow than to lead, easier to accept than to question, easier to drift with the current than to strike out for new lands. But a life lived merely by inheritance is no life at all. It is only an echo of another's choices, a shadow cast by someone else's fire. If you would truly live, you must create, not only with your hands but with your mind, your choices, your very being. To create your own life means to take responsibility for it, to own your failures as much as your victories, to dream boldly even when the world scoffs, and when you fall, as you surely will, rise again, not with bitterness, not with regret, but with the quiet resolve of one who knows that the road is not given but made, step by step. The measure of a life is not in how well it follows the map, but in the courage to draw new lines upon it. You are the maker of your days, the author of your story. Live not as an echo but as a voice, not as a wanderer but as a builder, not as one who merely exists, but as one who truly lives. Life is not something handed to us in a final form, complete and waiting for us to step into it. It is not a pre-written script we merely need to follow, nor is it a set of predetermined events that will unfold no matter what we do. Life is something shaped, built and forged through our choices, actions, and the depth of our own will. From the moment we are born, we are surrounded by influences. Our families, cultures, schools, and societies, all of which seek to mold us in ways that make sense to them. The world presents expectations, offers traditions, and sets boundaries that seem to define the limits of what is possible. And yet, within each individual exists the capacity to go beyond what has been given, to take the raw materials of existence and transform them into something unique. A person does not become who they are by accident. Every decision, no matter how small, plays a role in shaping the direction of their life. The books they choose to read, the people they surround themselves with, the ideas they entertain, all of these contribute to the structure of their existence. Some may argue that fate or circumstance determines a person's destiny, but even in the face of hardship there remains an undeniable truth. No matter where one begins, it is the choices made that define where one goes. Many people live as though they are waiting for life to happen to them, believing that the right opportunities will simply appear, or that happiness will come when external conditions align perfectly. But this is an illusion. Nothing truly worthwhile is simply stumbled upon. Fulfillment, meaning, and purpose are not found, they are created. They are the result of effort, of shaping oneself into the kind of person capable of building the life they desire. The difference between those who thrive and those who merely exist is the willingness to take ownership of their lives. Some look at difficulties and see them as barriers, reasons to turn back or resign themselves to what is. Others take those same obstacles and use them as tools for growth, carving out new paths where none existed before. It is not the absence of struggle that defines a meaningful life, but the determination to shape something worthwhile in spite of struggle. In every moment, a person is given the chance to choose, to take responsibility for who they are becoming, to shape their character, to refine their mind, to build habits that support their vision. Even in moments of failure, there is an opportunity to learn, to reshape, to reimagine what is possible. A life well lived is not one that has been free from challenge, but one that has been intentionally crafted through perseverance, wisdom, and an unyielding commitment to growth. No one else can create your life for you. The world may offer guidance, it may provide inspiration, but it cannot take the steps for you. The life you live is the direct result of what you decide to build. Some will wait for permission, for validation, for circumstances to be just right before they begin shaping their lives, but those who truly understand the power of creation know that the right time is always now. There is a quiet, persistent force that urges people to conform. It is not loud or demanding, rather it is subtle, woven into the fabric of everyday life. It begins in childhood, where the desire to belong overshadows the desire to be different. It continues into adulthood, where society rewards those who follow the expected paths, those who fit neatly within the lines. Rules, traditions, and customs are handed down, and there is an unspoken understanding that stepping too far outside them invites discomfort, scrutiny, or even rejection. Yet, the greatest mistake one can make is to assume that the safest road is also the truest road. Conformity provides comfort, but comfort is not the same as purpose. The person who lives according to expectation alone may find that they are never truly living at all. They move through life as if on a track, walking paths others have paved, making decisions based not on what they believe but on what has been prescribed. They choose careers because they are respectable, not because they stir the soul. They adopt beliefs because they are accepted, not because they are understood. They measure success by external approval rather than inner fulfillment. And in doing so, they slowly lose the very essence of what makes them unique. True individuality does not mean rebellion for rebellion's sake. It is not about rejecting society completely or discarding every tradition simply because it is old. It is about discernment, the ability to decide with clarity and conviction which ideas are worthy of acceptance and which must be left behind. To reject mere conformity is not to reject everything, but to have the courage to question, to explore, and to think deeply. It is to build a life that is not borrowed but created with intention. The world has never been changed by those who simply followed. Every breakthrough in thought, science, art, and human progress has come from those who dared to think differently, those who saw beyond the accepted and envisioned something greater. The ones who refuse to conform are often ridiculed, doubted, or even feared at first. Yet history remembers them not as troublemakers, but as pioneers. Their refusal to accept the ordinary is what leads to the extraordinary. Fear is the great enforcer of conformity, the fear of standing alone, of being judged, of failing in a way that others can see. But to live in fear of disapproval is to surrender the very thing that makes life worth living, the pursuit of one's own truth. No meaningful existence is built on the foundation of seeking constant validation. The person who dares to step outside the expected may face resistance, but they will also discover something far greater than comfort. Freedom. The freedom to live as one truly is, to follow the passions that ignite the heart, to speak thoughts that are genuinely held rather than merely accepted. The path of nonconformity is not easy. It requires strength to stand apart, to hold firm to convictions even when they are unpopular. It demands self-awareness, the ability to understand one's own values and desires apart from the noise of the world. It calls for resilience, for there will always be voices that insist on pulling people back into the familiar. But in the end, the life that is most deeply lived is the life that is most authentically one's own. To reject mere conformity is not an act of defiance. It is an act of creation. It is the decision to shape one's existence with purpose, rather than letting it be shaped by others. Life is filled with circumstances beyond our control, where we are born, the families we come from, the challenges we face. Yet no matter the hand we are dealt, one truth remains unshaken. We are responsible for what we make of it. Taking responsibility is not about taking blame for everything that happens, but about recognizing that, regardless of the situation, our choices determine our path. No one else can live our lives for us. No one else can step in and shape our character, make our decisions, or carry the weight of our actions. That burden and that power belongs to us alone. It is easy to cast responsibility elsewhere. It is comforting to believe that external forces, society, luck, the actions of others are the reasons for our failures and frustrations. But to believe that is to surrender control over our own lives. When we blame, we give away our power. When we make excuses, we accept stagnation. To take responsibility is to acknowledge that while we may not be at fault for everything that happens, we always have a choice in how we respond. It is in that response that our true character is formed. There will always be obstacles, moments when the world seems unfair, when circumstances do not align in our favor. But to dwell in resentment or self-pity is to waste precious time that could be spent moving forward. The strongest people are not those who have faced no adversity, but those who have refused to be defined by it. They do not wait for better conditions or for someone to fix things for them. They step up, take ownership, and shape their futures with intention. Taking responsibility is not limited to actions. It extends to thoughts, emotions, and beliefs. The way we interpret events, the way we handle disappointment, the way we react to challenges. These are all within our control. It is easy to let emotions dictate behavior, to justify anger, bitterness, or defeat by pointing to the actions of others. But true strength lies in mastering oneself, in deciding that no external force will dictate one's inner state. Those who take responsibility do not allow themselves to be ruled by circumstance. They choose who they will be, regardless of what life throws at them. Some fear responsibility because it comes with accountability. To say, "This is my life and I am responsible for it," means there is no one else to blame if things go wrong. It means accepting that failures are our own, that mistakes are not the fault of fate but the results of our decisions. Yet, while this may seem daunting, it is also liberating, because if failure is ours, then so is success. If mistakes are within our power, then so is growth. Responsibility is not a burden. It is the key to personal freedom. It means no longer being at the mercy of others' choices, but becoming the author of one's own story. Many spend their lives waiting for the right opportunity, the right motivation, the right moment. But those who wait often find that nothing changes. The world does not pause for hesitation, and time does not wait for readiness. The only way to move forward is to act, to decide that no matter the past, the present moment is ours to shape. Taking responsibility means stepping beyond excuses, beyond fear, and into a life of purpose. It is the foundation of self-respect, the source of growth, and the only true path to becoming who we are meant to be. The dream is to see beyond what is, to imagine what could be. It is to look past the limitations of the present and dare to believe in something greater. But dreaming alone is not enough. Many people have dreams, fleeting thoughts of a better life, passing desires for change, but they keep them buried beneath the weight of doubt, fear, and the expectations of others. To dream boldly is to go beyond mere wishing. It is to take hold of one's vision with courage, to pursue it with conviction, and to refuse to let the world diminish its worth. Bold dreams are not safe. They do not fit neatly into the boundaries of what is familiar or expected. They challenge the way things have always been, and because of this, they often invite skepticism. The world does not always welcome those who think differently, who reach beyond the ordinary, who believe in something more. There will always be voices of doubt, those who say it is unrealistic, too difficult, too ambitious. Some will say it is foolish to aim so high, that it is better to be practical, to lower expectations and accept what is given. But those who dare to dream boldly understand that no great thing has ever been achieved without first being imagined. Every innovation, every masterpiece, every breakthrough in history began with someone who was willing to dream in ways that others would not. Fear is the enemy of bold dreams. It whispers that failure is too painful, that disappointment is inevitable, that it is better to remain where it is safe. But safety is an illusion. A life lived without risk is a life half-lived, a life spent merely existing rather than truly living. The fear of failure keeps many from ever starting, yet failure itself is not the true loss. The real tragedy is never trying at all. Those who achieve great things are not those who never fail, but those who fail and rise again, stronger, wiser, more determined. Every setback is a lesson, every obstacle a test of resilience, every doubt an opportunity to reaffirm one's belief in the dream. Dreaming boldly is not just about ambition, it is about purpose. It is about reaching for something meaningful, something that stirs the soul and gives life direction. It is about knowing that comfort is not the goal, that the easy road leads only to mediocrity. Those who dare to dream boldly do not settle. They do not compromise their vision to fit within the narrow expectations of the world. They understand that the pursuit of something great requires sacrifice, effort, and unwavering determination. There will be moments of struggle, times when the dream seems impossibly distant. Doubt will creep in, and the temptation to give up will be strong. But bold dreamers press on, not because they are certain of success, but because the pursuit itself is worth it. They know that even if they fall short, they will have lived fully, having reached beyond what others dared. They will have shaped their lives with intention rather than drifting along paths chosen by others. In the end, it is not the dream itself that defines a person, but the courage to chase it. To dare to dream boldly is to claim ownership of one's destiny, to refuse to be limited by fear, to embrace the unknown with open hands. The world belongs to those who believe in possibilities greater than the present, to those who refuse to let doubt silence their vision, to those who step forward with courage and make their dreams reality. Life is filled with moments of struggle, disappointment, and hardship. No one moves through this world without facing obstacles, without encountering failure, without feeling the weight of setbacks. Yet what separates those who thrive from those who merely endure is not the absence of difficulty, but the presence of resilience. It is the ability to rise when one has fallen, to keep going when the path ahead is unclear, to hold on to hope even when everything seems lost. Resilience is not just a trait, it is the foundation upon which all success, growth, and fulfillment are built. To be resilient is to understand that failure is not the end but a part of the journey. Many fear failure as if it defines them, as if one misstep erases their worth. But failure is nothing more than a lesson, a teacher that reveals what must be learned, what must be strengthened, what must be done differently. Those who lack resilience see failure as a wall, an impenetrable barrier that signals defeat. But those who possess it see failure as a door, one that, though difficult to open, leads to deeper understanding, greater strength, and new possibilities. Every successful person, every great thinker, every pioneer in history has faced failure. What set them apart was their refusal to let it break them. They did not stop. They did not surrender, they adapted, they learned, and they moved forward with greater determination than before. Pain and hardship are unavoidable, but suffering is a choice. It is easy to let difficulties consume one's spirit, to dwell on what has gone wrong, to give in to frustration or despair. But resilience is the refusal to be defined by suffering. It is the decision to acknowledge pain without allowing it to dictate the future. It is the understanding that even in the darkest moments, there is still a way forward. Those who are resilient do not deny their struggles, nor do they pretend that life is always easy. But they choose again and again to stand back up, to take another step, to believe that tomorrow holds something worth fighting for. Resilience is not about strength alone, it is about adaptability. The world is constantly changing, and those who are rigid, who refuse to bend, often find themselves broken when challenges arise. To be resilient is to know that sometimes the way forward is not in fighting against the storm, but in learning how to move with it. It is in knowing when to push forward and when to step back, when to persist and when to change course. It is the ability to face setbacks with flexibility, to see opportunity in difficulty, to turn obstacles into stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks. There will always be moments that test the human spirit, times of loss, of uncertainty, of exhaustion, moments when it feels impossible to keep going. But resilience is the quiet voice that whispers, "Try again." It is the steady hand that reaches for another attempt, the unshaken belief that no hardship lasts forever. It is the inner fire that refuses to be extinguished, and in the end it is resilience that determines who will rise and who will remain where they have fallen. Those who cultivate it will find that no challenge is insurmountable, no failure final, no dream beyond reach. For resilience is not just the key to survival, it is the key to a life lived fully, courageously, and without regret. Life does not unfold by accident. It is not something that simply happens, nor is it something to be drifted through without thought. To live with intention is to recognize that every day, every choice, and every action contributes to the shape of one's existence. It is the understanding that meaning is not found passively but created actively. Many people move through life reacting rather than deciding, following paths laid out for them rather than carving their own. They wake, they work, they fulfill obligations, but they do not ask why. They do not question whether their actions align with their values, whether their time is being spent on what truly matters. To live with intention is to refuse to move through life aimlessly. It is to decide with clarity and purpose what kind of person one wants to be and what kind of life one wants to build. Intentional living begins with awareness. It requires stepping back from the rush of daily life and asking hard questions. What drives me? What do I value? Where am I headed, and is it where I truly want to go? Without this reflection, it is easy to fall into patterns dictated by routine, by expectations, by fear of change. But those who live with intention do not allow habit to dictate their future. They are deliberate in their actions, ensuring that the way they spend their time reflects what is most important to them. Living with intention does not mean that life will always go as planned. There will still be unpredictability, still be moments of challenge, still be circumstances beyond one's control. But intention provides a foundation, a guiding force that allows one to navigate difficulties with purpose, rather than being tossed by the waves of circumstance. It allows decisions to be made with confidence, knowing that they align with deeper values rather than fleeting emotions or external pressures. Those who live with intention are not easily swayed by distraction or uncertainty, for they know where they stand. There is a difference between existing and truly living. Many people survive, but few truly live. They spend their days waiting for the right moment, for permission, for external validation. They postpone their dreams, telling themselves they will start later, when things are more certain, when they feel more ready. But life is not something to be postponed. Those who live with intention do not wait passively for the perfect conditions. They act, knowing that time is the most valuable resource they have. They do not fill their days with meaningless distractions or obligations that hold no purpose. They ensure that what they do reflects who they are striving to become. Intentional living requires courage. It means making choices that may not always be understood by others. It means saying no to paths that do not align with one's true direction, even if they are easier or more accepted. It means standing firm in one's values, even when doing so is difficult. It is not always the easiest way to live, but it is the most fulfilling. A life without intention is a life dictated by chance. But a life lived with purpose is one where every moment holds meaning. Those who choose to live this way will look back not with regret, but with the knowledge that they shaped their lives according to what truly mattered.